Hi, and welcome to day 5 of functions. As you'll notice, today I don't have the actual worksheet, but I do have all the problems that were on the worksheet. We are doing review for our quiz. So, the first problem asks, is this following a function y? Find the domain and range, find f of -3, and f of -1. So, is the following a function? Well, if I draw a vertical line, oh dear, hang on. All right, let's try that again. If I draw a vertical line through my function, you see it does touch in two places. However, we have an open circle up here, which means it's not equal to, and a closed circle down here, which means it is equal to. Therefore, this is a function. So the answer is yes. Why is this a vertical function? Because a function because it passes the vertical line test. The domain. The domain are my x values. Remember, when we're looking at a graph, the domain goes left to right. And my leftmost x value is 1 to -3. So I start at -3, and it can be equal to -3 because it's a closed circle. So it's less than or equal to x's domain, less than or equal to my largest y value, x value over here is 1, 2, 3. So, and it's a closed circle, so it can be equal to 3. So -3 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3 is my domain. My range starts at the bottom and moves up to the top. Okay? At the bottom, my lowest value is 1 to -2. And it's a closed circle, so it's less than or equal to. And this is range, so it's y. My upper value, my largest value is 1, 2, 3. And notice that's an open circle. So that means it cannot be equal to, so it's just less than 3. F of -3, well, where is -3? 1, 2, 3 is here. What is the y value for that point? Well, that y value is 0. And then f of -1, go to where x is -1. It appears that I have two values, but in reality I only have one value because this top one cannot be equal to. If it cannot be equal to, then it's not included. So I'm only looking at this point down here, and my y value on that point is +1. All right, next problem. Is the following a function? Y. Find the domain and the range. Well, this is x, this is y. Is this a function? The answer is yes. The x's do not repeat. My domain is simply the x values, so it's m, a, and t. And then my range is my y values, which is just c and o. Next problem. Find the domain and range of each of these. Well, my first one is f of x equals x squared. That is a quadratic, which is a parabola. If I type into the calculator and find where my vertex is, my values are -2, 4, -1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, and 4. Sorry, it's +1 here. So This is going to help us find our range. My domain is equal to, if I draw that funny looking R, it means all real numbers. That looks like all red numbers. Hang on. Okay, that's better. All real numbers. My range, if I graph those points, I plot them, what it will look like is this. My graph keeps going on forever. So my vertex is down here, which is 0.00. So my range starts at 0. So y starts at 0, and it can be equal to 0 or greater than 0. For number 2, I have a radical. And when we have a radical, we have to take what's underneath the radical and make it greater than or equal to 0 to find the domain. So if I divide by 3, x is greater than or equal to 0. So my domain is x is greater than or equal to 0. My range, if I were to graph this on a graphing calculator, it would look something along those lines. So by looking at that picture, my range should be y is greater than or equal to 0. The last one here, h of x equals 5x minus 1, is a linear function, which is just a line. Okay? And for a line, my domain is all real numbers, and my range is also all real numbers. Okay, which of the following are not functions? Well, this, root a, y equals negative x plus negative 6x plus 1, is a line in the form of y equals mx plus b. That is a function. For b, this is a y equals 1/3 is a horizontal line, and horizontal lines are functions. For c, x squared plus y squared equals 36 is a circle. A circle is not a function. So c is not a function. D, y equals 5x squared plus 2x plus 1 is a parabola. And all parabolas that have x squared in them are functions. X equals negative 2 is a vertical line. And vertical lines are not functions. They fail the vertical line test miserably. And y equals x squared is the same thing as d. It's a parabola. So just something to remember. Y squared equals not a function. If you only have an x and no other variable, that is not a function. Okay? All right, good. Flip your paper over. And we have compositions of functions. So f of x is equal to x plus 6, and g of x is equal to 3 of x. If I want to find f of g of x, first of all, because I have the x here, that means I'm looking for my rule. And I can rewrite that as f of g of x. Okay, so that means I'm going to take g of x, which is 3x, and substitute it in place of x and f of x. So I'm going to take f of 3x, and wherever I see an x, which is just right here, I'm going to put a 3x plus 6. Now I'm going to find g of f of x. So I'm going to work with f of x first this time. And that is x plus 6, so I'm going to take x plus 6 and put it in place of x. So I'd have 3 times x plus 6. Well, that looks a little bit different because of the parentheses, so I need to distribute. So I have 3x plus 18. So is f of g of x equal to g of f of x? Well, looking at parts A and parts B, they are two different equations. So the answer is no, they are not equal. Part D, find f of g of negative 2. I can use my rule of composition and use the equation from part A. So I'd have 3 times negative 2 plus 6, and that would be equal to 0. And I'm going to use the equation from A. Or I could take negative 2, substitute it into g first, then get my answer and substitute it into f. So for E, it asks you to find g of f of negative 2. Well, I'll do this one the other method. So I'm going to find f of negative 2 first. And that would give me negative 2 plus 6, which would give me positive 4. Now, I'm going to take that and substitute it into g of x. So I'm going to take g of 4, and it's 3 times 4, which is 12. So you can see clearly that from the examples D and the examples E, that C cannot be a yes. So for D, you can either use the equation you found from A, or substitute negative 2 into G and then substitute that answer in for F. Or for E, I did the second method where I took negative 2 and I substituted it in for F, got 4, took my answer, substitute in G, got my answer, which was 12. I could have used equation B had I wanted to. Alright, these are kind of crazy. I'm doing 3 compositions. Instead of just doing 2, I'm doing 3. Before we said we work from the inside out or work from backwards, from the right to the left. So if I rewrite this, I'd have A of B of C of X. And in this case, we're going to start with C of X because it's on the inside. So C of X is equal to 3x minus 2. Now I'm going to work with B, and in place of x, I'm going to put 3x minus 2. So I will have the absolute value of 3x minus 2. Now I'm going to use function A and put in my answer from B. So that would be the absolute value of 3x minus 2. Okay, and that would be taking A and in place of x putting the absolute value of 3x minus 2 as my final answer. For part B, I'm going to do B of x first. Actually, before I go there, I'll rewrite it as C of A of B of x. So I'm going to start first with B because it's on the inside. So B of x is equal to the absolute value of x. The next function inside would be A. So it's A of the absolute value of x is equal to, well, A is equal to 1 over x. So in place of x, we put 1 over x. And in C, we're going to take the 1 over the absolute value of x and put it in for x in C. So I will have 3 times 1 over the absolute value of x minus 2. And when that's cleaned up, it looks like 3 over the absolute value of x minus 2. If you're still struggling with this, you got to make sure you come in to see me at lunch before your quiz. All right. Have a good night.